Good morning, Uganda. Well, it is the 5th day in June 2023, and very many thanks for choosing to start the day with us here at UBC. My name is Mollen, Kenyena. I do have the two gentlemen with me here in studio, Robert and Felix. And of course, we're here to make sure that we can give you a little bit of warmth in your Monday and, to kind of usher you into the week. Well, welcome back from the weekend. And quite an interesting line I got this morning from a colleague. Kristen told me this morning, Kenyena mugongo. Then I remembered it's kind of a saying that people usually say, regardless of whether you've been to Namugongo or not, simply meaning welcome back from Namugongo. And we do understand that there are people that were still actually at the shrine, but also the assurance is that the church, that is the Uganda Martyrs Church Namugongo, they have said that they will be helping to transport those that are still at the shrine, and of course to make sure that they are back in their families. And we know a lot of you are already back to your homes. That was a very, very huge commitment coming to Namugongo, and of course I join everyone else in prayer. But talking about welcome, we will be welcoming back Uganda's favorites this season of Britain's Got Talent, that is the Ghetto Kids. Last night they were performing in the finals after giving a brilliant and amazing show. Unfortunately, they were eliminated from the finals, but these kids have really given it their all right from the first performance where they got a golden buzzer. And I don't know last night whether it was about the song choices they had. They did have a Waka Waka performance in there. And usually when you perform that song on a big stage, you're going to be judged for the dances because it's usually compared to what Shakira put in the original video. So people are expecting that we will do more than that or even measure up to their expectations. So unfortunately, the Ghetto Kids did their best, but it wasn't enough. But they have put on a very amazing show, and this is a journey for them. I know that a lot of people in the world are still amazed at their performance. That is something that we can also pride in as Ugandans, to see that those kids actually were able to take their dance globally and be recognized at that. But also coming back home here, something that really did catch my eye. The people in the northeastern part of the country, the Karamojongs, they are saying we would rather prefer to put our disputes in front of traditional leaders. They want to go back in time and actually consider the traditional way of settling disputes than the modern way of, seeking for justice. Their reasons are not yet established, but they are saying, no. We don't want to go to the courts of law. We would rather table our differences in front of our elders. Now, I don't know how that is going to work out, but Felix here might know a little bit more about it or how that could easily play out. Good morning, Felix.
Good morning.
Yes.
How are you, Mollen?
I'm doing all right.
How have you been?
Good.
How was your weekend?
My weekend was okay.
Did you pass by Namugongo?
I didn't, unfortunately.
Okay, that's fine.
But I still, whenever people are telling me welcome back from Namugongo, I tell them, yeah, thank you.
Okay. Well, in relation to what you asked about traditional formats of justice, I think up till today, it's one of the things that we can't do away with. And clearly, the northern part of Uganda is still upholding much. Actually, you'll notice that they still do that a lot, even with the various cases in their communities. No wonder, away from the Karamojong, the Kejongs, you saw what happened to Kanyamunyu. Regardless of the fact that there was a court case that was being done under the normatives of judiciary, they still had to go through that, what they call matoput courts there in the north. So for them, they believe that justice is not justice if it doesn't serve the purpose of the person who has gotten the pain. Because that's a big question. And if you remember well, it's been a question also in this Konyi case and Dominic Ongwen, that there's been a question about whose justice. If you're charging Ongwen in ICC, like whose justice are you seeking? Do you even know what these people are feeling? So they prefer to have these courts close to them. So the people who are probably afflicted are part of the justice process, so they believe that kind of thing. I think that's why they're calling upon it again. But something for me that wasn't quite sightly in Namugongo, and this one I want to mention categorically to the organizers. in my opinion, going forward, we must be able to disseminate religion, faith, and worldly positioning. I was very, very, very dismayed. There are people in Namugongo, by the way, who walked from Kenya, from Tanzania, from all parts of Uganda. And they were made to sit somewhere, squeezed. They couldn't even follow mass, many of them, because they are very far. And you know, for us, normally, the reason why we go to church early is because I think for us it's a mentality thing that when you're able to see the priest or the pastor, sometimes it's even attention-wise. Yeah. Now imagine you came on foot from Kenya, and you sit in a place like Garden City. Then there's this minister, permanent secretary, political leader, a councillor, a Muslim. They are given the front seats. And they came that day. They came late, by the way. They came when mass is halfway. And the police is escorting there. And he's thinking, come on, let's be serious. At least you can save that for the government functions. But not for our church functions. Let's be serious.
This is all about prayer. This is about people that have.
And then when they come late, they are disorganizing mass. People are shouting, chanting. It was so unsightly. It was ugly. That is one of the worst moments I had when I at Namugongo. Because you have to go there early. Some of us, you have to be in a line for about an hour to enter. But then someone comes, and they're given, no, the church must, you're not going to treat us like vagabonds. That's a place of God.
Well, clearly.
What's the intention?
Clearly, I know there could be also a lot of people that felt the same way, seeing such things happen and, prioritizing seating arrangements at such a function. And that is not a pretty thing to see.
Kebong, someone who walked from Abim, someone from Sudan, the pilgrims, and you give, with due respect, I don't even know, but you give her a front seat, and there's an old man who walked from maybe Kabad. They can't even come to have Holy Communion. Because someone walked more than 500 miles, but they can't get Holy Communion on such a special day. But because you want to make Edimutwe sit in front of you. No, I think that was...
Well, clearly we have to get back to the basics of why people actually walk to Namugongo. That is the whole creation of why we celebrate Martyrs' Day. People do give sacrifice at a particular time, and that is the 3rd of June. We do hope that the church can revise some of these things and make sure that we know you have a smooth kind of celebration. Robert, good morning. How are you feeling this morning?
Quite fine. First, thanking God for the life He has given us, but also welcoming people from Namugongo. Of course, I know there are those that are stranded, deeply still there. Some, their transport was stolen. Others, for very many reasons. Saturday I was here, but then after, because I had a religious leader, I managed to enter Namugongo, because we were supposed to be there and we got away. But in addition to what Felix has said, for me, my other concern is, you see, this is a holy ground. And for me, my dismay came at areas surrounding the shrine and the site. Because for the Catholics, it's the Catholic shrine, for the Anglicans, it's the Anglican site. But I think we need to better regulate even what kind of business happens there. Because like Felix said, there is someone who is trekking all the way to come to Namugongo, and there is some level of the glory of God they're expecting. Now, when we have bars, we have even people's homes standing to lodges. They have gone out to rent them out for those days. Not for people who are going to stay there, but outside the shrine, the nonsensity that was happening right from where they could, is it Charlie Wajera, that straight lane to the shrine. Felix can testify to this. You would think, you know, yes, I accept Balaam at the Catholic shrine was the whatever his sound and what, but the essence for us in faith, we cherish our tukuvu. I know we have enough security personnel or to regulate, Because when police comes and says we have arrested 70, then these say, bano baganga ide, bali bakoze batya. Yes, we are celebrating, but there must be some bit of regulating business around that area.
But usually also the residents are counting on that business. They are always counting on that time of the year to have business around.
We had World Cup in Qatar, you know, but there were certain regulations or certain things, much as it was a sport. But you can't see
not every
some
business
unsightly things, you know. I moved around, no journalistic tendencies for us to keep on moving around. But even when I moved around, these are drunk, these have been messed upon, ripped upon, these have been, and I'm like, but couldn't someone regulate, or take up on this day, what nature of businesses are we having? So I feel we must, if we are to keep this place, have the purity and attract people, by the way, to huge numbers. There are certain things we must work upon. Otherwise, this is how things lose essence over a time. That someone would think of, no, I don't think it's befitting to be at such a place.
Well, clearly a lot of mixed feelings when it comes to this year's celebrations, everything that was surrounding it. Well, by the way, it's always a lesson coming from this celebration into next year. We will have to actually better ourselves. But we also want to recognize Jinja Diocese. They did really bring in a very brilliant ushering into the masses at the Catholic Shrine, and also the eastern parts that did also usher in masses at the Anglican Church. They were very brilliant. I watched them and I was like, yeah.
Oh, did you listen to the message of Bishop Mika, the one he had for men, where he said to emulate, forgotten the name of the matter, that he had a number of wives, but he let the rest go, and he was married in holy matrimony with one. So he said, you have up to 4 years, a Catholic man who has more than one wife. Each year, let one go. So by 4 years, you remained with one, and then go and get married in church. So Catholic men, the likes of Felix Nkunda, not in particular saying he has 4, but use every year to let go of one. I'm
here wondering what Honorable Sarah Opendi thinks about such a statement after she's moving a motion to actually, kind of recognize polygamy. But well, a lot of things also did make it to the headlines of the weekend coming into Monday, and we will be taking you through those both locally and internationally. We'll start with local news with Felix and Robert. Robert, what do you have?
President Yoweri Museveni, while closing, that is the NRM retreat that has been going on in Chankwanzi. Now, President Museveni, who is also the national chairman of the National Resistance Movement, concluded the 10-day NRM parliamentary caucus retreat with a strong appeal to members to diligently oversee and supervise the government's programs of parish development model and EMIOGA. The aim of these programs is to transit society from a traditional way of doing things to a modern life.
The Mountain Division and Operation Shuja Commander Major General Dick Olum camped in Sector 301 Brigade Headquarters, commanding and strategizing in the final onslaught against Sprinter ADF group. Olum assured the Congolese as civilians of their safety against ADF rebels attacks along Lake Edward, Kivionje and general areas of Marika Valley inside Eastern Congo.
And moving on, government has inaugurated the Western Region Information, Communication and Technology ICT National Innovation Hub at Kabale University. This groundbreaking initiative is supported by the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance under the Ministry's National ICT Initiative Support Program, which aims at promoting innovative startups.
Now, the new leadership of Teso Culture Union has unveiled a master plan aimed at eradicating poverty in Teso sub-region through transformation of agriculture. A 4 trillion shilling water irrigation scheme project in the region is expected to push farmers into commercial farming from subsistence by utilizing the surrounding water bodies.
Crossing over to the international scene, the Chinese defense minister has said war with the U.S. would be an unbearable disaster for the world in his first major speech since taking on the role. At a security summit, General Li Shangfu said some countries were intensifying an arms race in Asia, but he said the world was big enough for both China and the U.S., and the two superpowers should seek common ground. Earlier, the U.S. alleged unsafe maneuvers by the Chinese destroyer near a U.S. warship in the Taiwan Strait. On Saturday, the U.S. Navy said the Chinese destroyer sailed in unsafe manner near the American warship as it transited the Taiwan Strait with the Canadian vessels. China criticized both countries for deliberately provoking risk. The U.S. and Canada said they were sailing where international law allows them. In another story, at least 280 people were killed and hundreds of others were injured when multiple trains collided in India's eastern state of Odisha. After hours of searches, rescue operations have now ended, and cleanup operations were underway on Saturday after multiple trains derailed in eastern Indian states of Odisha. Now, at least 288 people were killed and at least 900 injured in the accident, which took place late on Friday, officials told news agencies. By 10 p.m., we were able to rescue survivors, and after that, it was about picking up dead bodies. That is according to Sarangi, the director of Odisha Fire Department. And in Senegal, the death toll in Senegalese violence has risen to 15 as supporters of the convicted opposition leader Ousmane Sonko and police continued to clash, the government said on Saturday. While Dakar was calmer on Saturday, clashes continued in the evening. In the residential neighborhoods, protesters threw rocks at police, barricaded roads and burned tires. The army patrolled the streets as police fired tear gas at the demonstrators, inspecting and detaining people deemed to be causing trouble. The clashes first broke out on Thursday after Sonko was convicted of corrupting youth but acquitted on the charges of raping a woman who worked at the massage parlor and making death threats against her. Sonko, who did not attend his trial in Dakar, was sentenced to 2 years in prison, and his lawyer said a warrant had not yet been issued for his arrest. Now, in climate news, extreme weather events are worsening mental health problems and driving up insurance costs, creating a vicious cycle of anxiety, despair, and poverty. But out of the crisis comes hope that taking action will turn things around and that adapting to a world of wider weather can reduce the risks. The Straits Times investigated this. Now, on Sunday night in February 2022, Miss Naomi Shrine grabbed a sleeping bag and a change of clothes after she fled her home in Australian city of Lismore, which was in the grid of one of the most devastating floods in the country's history. The flood waters were threatening to overlap the city and prompting a warning by the authorities for residents to evacuate the area by 5 a.m. on Monday. Miss Shrine and her housemates were decided not to wait. Well, a lot of things happening across the world, and coming into Monday, we also want to look at what is making headlines in some of the papers that we have here. Looking at the Daily Monitor, also to a big headline right there, bodies of 54 soldiers back home this week. They're giving you more on that story. And of course, government delays merger of agencies again. That is also another story for you right there in the Daily Monitor for today, looking at 58 words change pilgrims' wishes into miracle. Those are interesting to know. But also more in the stories, Lieutenant Colonel Nyororo, Al-Shabaab cut a chain of bravery. They give you more on that as well in today's Daily Monitor. And later on, we will also be taking you through some of the rest of the papers also coming across in East Africa. But also this morning, we want to remind you about your health and of course what you can do to make sure that you keep healthy. Robert here always has more details on how to keep healthy.
Well, it's simply you need products from Hallelujah Reflexology, that is tamarind, ginger and banana juice. They will boost your immune system, so we need you healthy, we need you alive. I need to make some few savings. Go get yourself any of the bottles.
Well, there you go. We'll also be taking you through an inspiration song of the day for this Monday, just, you know, get you kick-started. But when we get back, we'll be looking at typical discussion here in Good Morning Uganda newsreel. Later than that, we'll also be taking you into the roads with the traffic updates. We'll bring in the weather updates right there, and then we'll be marching into Good Morning Uganda agenda. Later than that, we'll also be having sports highlights for you, and of course at the top of the hour.
They believe that justice is not justice if it doesn't serve the purpose of the person who has gotten the pain. Because that's a big question. If you remember well, it's been a question also in this Konyi case and Dominic Ongwen, that there's been a question about whose justice. If you're charging Ongwen in ICC, like whose justice are you seeking? Do you even know what these people are feeling? So they prefer to have these courts close to them. So the people who are probably afflicted are part of the justice process, you know, so they believe that kind of thing. I think that's why they're calling upon it again. But something for me that wasn't quite sightly in Namugongo, and this one I want to mention categorically to the organizers. In my opinion, going forward, we must be able to disseminate religion, faith, and worldly positioning. I was very, very, very dismayed. There are people in Namugongo, by the way, who walked from Kenya, from Tanzania, from all parts of Uganda, and they were made to sit somewhere, squeezed. They couldn't even follow mass, many of them, because they are very far. And you know, for us, normally, the reason why we go to church early is because I think for us it's a mentality thing that when you're able to see the priest or the pastor, sometimes it's even attention-wise. Now imagine you came on foot from Kenya and you sit in a place like Garden City. Then there's this minister, permanent secretary, political leader, a councillor, a Muslim. They are given the front seats. And they came that day, they came late, by the way. They came when mass is halfway. And the police is escorting there. And he's thinking, come on, let's be serious. At least you can save that for the government functions. But not for our church functions. Let's be serious.
This is all about prayer. This is about people that have.
And then when they come late, they are disorganizing mass. People are shouting, chanting. It was so unsightly, it was ugly. That is one of the worst moments I had when I at Namugongo. Because you have to go there early. Some of us, you have to be in a line for about an hour to enter. But then someone comes, and they're given, no, the church must, we're not going to treat us like vagabonds. That's a place of God.
Well, clearly.
What's the intention?
Clearly, I know there could be also a lot of people that felt the same way on seeing such things happen, and prioritizing seating arrangements at such a function. And that is not a pretty thing to see.
Kebong, someone who walked from Abim, someone from Sudan, the pilgrims, and you give, with due respect, I don't even know, but you give her a front seat, and there's an old man who walked from maybe Kabad. They can't even come to have Holy Communion. Because someone walked more than 500 miles, but they can't get Holy Communion on such a special day. But because you want to make Edimutwe sit in front of you, No, I think that was...
Well, clearly we have to get back to the basics of why people actually walk to Namugongo. That is the whole creation of why we celebrate Martyrs' Day. People do give sacrifice at that particular time, and that is the 3rd of June. We do hope that the church can revise some of these things and make sure that we know you have a smooth kind of celebration. Robert, good morning. How are you feeling this morning?
Quite fine. First, thanking God for the life He has given us, but also welcoming people from Namugongo. Of course, I know there are those that are stranded, deeply still there. Some, their transport was stolen. Others, for very many reasons. Saturday I was here, but then after, because I had a religious leader, I managed to enter Namugongo because we were supposed to be there and we got away. But in addition to what Felix has said, for me, my other concern is, you see, this is a holy ground. And for me, my dismay came at areas surrounding the shrine and the site. Because for the Catholics, it's the Catholic shrine, for the Anglicans, it's the Anglican site. But I think we need to better regulate even what kind of business happens there. Because like Felix said, there is someone who is trekking all the way to come to Namugongo, and there is some level of the glory of God they're expecting. Now, when we have bars, we have even people's homes standing to lodges. They have gone out to rent them out for those days. Not for people who are going to stay there, but outside the shrine, the nonsensity that was happening right from where they could, is it Charlie Wajera, that straight lane to the shrine. Felix can testify to this. You would think, you know, yes, I accept Balaam at the Catholic shrine was the whatever his sound and what, but the essence for us in faith, we cherish our tukuvu. I know we have enough security personnel or to regulate, because when police comes and says we have arrested 70, then this say yes, we are celebrating, but there must be some bit of regulating business around that area.
But usually also the residents are counting on that business. They are always counting on that time of the year to have business around.
We had World Cup in Qatar.
But the most important qualification is imagination. Her reason to imagine is slay. His reason is to be the goat. Theirs is to take the beat and make it lit. They want to test edgy until it is fire. Their reason for imagination is to add riz in style. Her reason to imagine is finesse. And hers is to find what's new and bussin'. So no matter what your situation, just use your imagination.
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, Uganda. Once again, thank you for choosing to join us this morning. And if you're just joining in, we are looking at the newsreel for this morning. And this morning, we want to look more into some of the initiatives that are put across by government, especially when it comes to funding utilities in public hospitals. We're looking at a crisis that could arise if there is no funding for water or even electricity in some of these hospitals. And of course, what is at stake looking at that, because you know you have to bring in right now the locals that are concerned. We have seen a case of the Nakuru hospital where locals have come out to say they are concerned about the position of the hospital. It could even close, according to what some of them are saying, because of the water crisis. And that leads a conversation into how do we get there? And obviously looking at what is government contributions in that sector and making sure that most of these hospitals keep running even at any budget that is given, or should there be an increase in budget when it comes to such utilities? Because you're looking at life here. A lot of operations in hospitals actually depend on supply of water and electricity, and this is something that needs to be looked at both from a level of the hospital administration, Ministry of Health, but also entirely looking at how government can come in to help so that we do not even get to such an extent like we're seeing in Nakuru. And we also know that in the past times there are other hospitals that have had to be in such positions, especially when it comes to the supply of electricity and water. And how do we always get there? And even then, what is the way forward? We'll be dissecting into that this morning with Robert and Felix. And I'll start with you, Robert. We want to look into the situation that is happening at Nakuru, but also bringing in all together government hospitals. We're seeing that most of this is about the money, the funding, because you look at the service providers, they're also saying, you know what, we need payments for the services that we're providing. But at that point, they're not looking at what is at stake. So we want to understand, where is the problem there?
Very interesting and indeed puzzling area to tackle at this point, because one, we are discussing hospitals. Mm-hmm. Who goes to hospital? These are people who are sick and they have gone to save life, to have either treated, but basically hospitals are aimed at saving life. Now, one of the things that any hospital uses, and in plenty, is electricity, because it has to be running. Someone will go to the theater. A mother is not going to deliver, even if it's not cesarean or C-section, in darkness. You know, security there, people are moving, anyone is coming in, you'll need electricity. But also water for hygiene purposes. Even in theater, you need water. Water is very, very, and there's a saying that water is life. Now, when it comes to an area where there is life to be saved, water is a priority. And when I first learned of China, Uganda, Friendship Hospital, many that call Nakuru Hospital, that they had spent time and they don't have water because National Water and Sewage Corporation had disconnected them. They have a bill of 1.3 billion Uganda shillings. My question was, how did the money accrue to such? How do they have these debt areas? But also, still in Wonderland, then the spokesperson of Ministry of Health comes out and says, the money that government gives us to pay water bills can only run, for example, this specific hospital, can only run it for a month. That's why they keep on having these areas accruing, increasing, because what we give there is too little. So if not prioritized, hospital bills of electricity, hospital bills of water. We saw what's in Entebbe, where they woke up and was totally hospital had been disconnected of power. Hoima, water. So this goes back to what are our priorities. Should such facilities, we know National Water and Sewage Corporation must do business. I mean, they have to service their generators, service their pumps. But for hospitals, for sure, can't we, or can't our MPs? I saw a member of parliament, Joe Senyo, in the area member of parliament, very vigor talking this. But should these institutions be paying for water, for electricity? Shouldn't they be exempted? Because how many government hospitals do we have in Uganda? And even if we have to amalgamate their water bills, what is that? Can't we say for hospitals? Because we must prioritize that for them, water and electricity are not payments they bother with. Because they are very, very crucial. Let me tell you, if you don't have water and the theater is not running for such hospital, how many mothers are we going to lose? For all this equipment that we have, why should we? Because even National Water and Sewage Corporation, I know it, but how do you disconnect a facility? Of course, they will tell you maybe there has been so much of trying to make a talk here and there, but it doesn't have something very much of income generating. China, Uganda Friendship Hospital, and many other of these public hospitals, they are funded by government. They're not doing directly business like a private hospital that when you come and deliver. So you know it is government and you are that is supposed to pay this money. So disconnection, that's like what we have, what we call key installations. So those you find that even the security there, they'll even tell people clear because you are going to have set up this. So hospitals for sure,
then again,
I think should be
Robert,
exempted, much as
we're talking about exempting, but we want to also look into how that data was accumulated. We're talking about 1.3 billion Ugandan shillings here. And shouldn't this be a responsibility of the hospital administration themselves to make sure that they get this debt cleared before things get to worse, before we put the blame on the service provider? How about you iron this issue out before it gets there? Because this is a data that kept accumulating month to month, year to year. Why is it that they're not able to, iron that out before you get to the service providers?
one, because they don't have a source of income. This is a government of Uganda and government of China partnering, and they built this lovely hospital. So where do they get money from? They get money from government. And the spokesperson of the Ministry of Health, that is Emma, has told you that the money government gives us to pay water and electricity is so little. It can only run the hospital for a month. So for them, they'll still present that we have power bills that are getting far and beyond what we can handle. But if it is not a priority or the allocation government gives is very little, then they have nothing to do as administrators, apart from keeping on writing until the situation has now gotten, at least the latest I've heard is that the PS now, Ministry of Health and PS Finance, have written a commitment to National Water and Sewage Corporation telling them that we are going to work on this date, let's have electricity back. But I'm also told that they may say we need a commitment.
Yeah.
We need to commit rather than just these laters. Yes.
Absolutely, and of course you have to look into sustainability, even when this date is cleared, but is there a way forward to making sure that we don't have such issues? And this is where I want to bring in Felix. We're looking at National Water and Sewage Corporation having done this. To themselves, they will give you reasons, of course. They are a third party in that, because this is a partnership or an understanding between the hospital and government, or ministry at that. They're supposed to be clearing these kind of bills. And it did not involve National Water and Sewage Corporation. For them, their service providers, they're saying, no, this is enough, we are cutting you off. And they are serious, and they are doing it. So where does that leave the working relation with government and some of these agencies that are now taking on the responsibility?
Mollen, you're trying to make it look like there's government 1, government 2, government 3.
So because these are independent bodies. These are independent bodies.
You can't be independent when you're government. How are they independent? They all form one body. You can't tell me that Kagere Kasajja is deep. You say when you're talking about your body, your eyes are part of the body. They could be used for sight. The limbs, the ears, they could be different parts of the body, but they're all part of your body. So I'm hearing my sister struggling to
This is a
to dissect government.
and
the service provider of who?
It
Of the
provides
Congolese
services to
government.
Uganda.
No, but Felix,
Is
we
it by a
have
Congolese
to
government?
understand that these particular service providers are not per se, as you're saying, it's government. Otherwise, they would be making water bills free for everyone in Uganda.
And that's
this
why
is an entity run on funding that they generate.
Whose entity?
It's a government entity.
It's potato. Either way you say it, it's potato. And this is the dismay we are facing. Let's be honest. Let's not try to run away from the reality. These are some of the administrative challenges we are facing as a country. How do you say you've disconnected water from a hospital? A government agency is disconnecting another government agency. But you see, in administration, we have what we call primary institutions and secondary. A hospital, any institution that directly deals with health care, is a primary institution. Now, any supportive body to general health care is equally a primary institution. And both of these are primary institutions. You may want to make it look different, but both these are government institutions. The spokesperson told you that we have the money released from
Government.
to pay another government. Is little. So who's but anyway, there are many solutions, and I want to share some of them to someone. And because these challenges are actually, you may see other 2 or 3 more hospitals come out by end of this week, because by the time you have accumulated debt of 1.3 billion, it means you're looking at about 2 or 3 years, or even more. I don't know who plans for some of these institutions, with due respect, because I know that with such a big installation, it is cheaper for you to dig a well and pump water yourself. I don't know what you people think, but from the little additions I can do, because these are things that we do even in our own.
Today,
if you dig a well in Naguru, and you get big pumps, it can cost you not even more than 100 million, plus the tanks, and you're sorted.
You have a sustainable supply.
Forever and ever, you only have to do maintenance. Even in terms of power, these are the things we always take on leaders. That when you sit in those meetings, what is your mind?
Think big.
About sustainability. Now, and then people say that we speak bad. But when you sit in such a meeting, you look at a hospital that is government funded, but also keeping in mind that look at the people who go there. How much do you pay in Naguru? People don't pay money. I have been to that hospital for many cases. I've had a couple of cases. You reach there, I've met there is no, look at the people don't even have enough beds to be admitted on. So the issue of them, the hospital can't raise the money. Actually, a few months or years, you remember when they were striking also the nurses, they were not being paid. If you can't pay the doctors, how can we pay water? Even if the money came and the doctors are striking and you have a water bill, where do you first clear? Sustainability is a true subject in projects. That's why when we come on shows like this, we want to be honest. We don't want to make things look butter-coated, yet they are not. But who are thinking for some of these institutions, who are negotiating Ugandan deals? And this has been manifested also in many other areas. When you go to the airline, it's the same thing. When you go to, it's the same thing. Who is representing Uganda? If it's a China-Uganda, who catered for the sustainability? What was the plan for water and electricity?
It was an agreement. We shall do this, we shall do this.
But in there should be a plan. There should be a plan.
Use utilities, government of Uganda will
now,
handle.
is the hospital still useful today? Was the purpose achieved if there is no water for now a week? Are we achieving the purpose? We need more sober people in offices. This is what we are saying and again. That sustainability is part of every project. How do you sustain it? Now we are struggling with sustainability because maybe the discussions in terms of how you're going to pay the workers was not by far discussed in terms of utilities. Because you're looking at 1.3. How do you have a debt of what of 1.3? Now that is on the side of the hospital and who. Let's go to the side of these other government institutions. Sometimes, and you see, as also a teacher, we always tell our students, don't think far from yourself. If you want to do an exam well, don't try to think you're going to invent another plane in an exam. No. Start from where you are. Let's be honest, Robert, Mollen, and our fellow Ugandans. You cannot come and convince Ugandans that Uganda is a poor country with how we see wastage in government institutions. You cannot convince Ugandans that we cannot pay a water bill with how wasteful. Every function, national function that happens here, you spend not less than $1 billion. A useful function,
because that money
a useless function.
planned.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Kakati. In Uganda we say ezo zivawa.
They were budgeted for, they are planned,
God,
and it is
forbid,
there, allocated
God
to
forbid,
do a certain event.
if Honorable Kirabo here, and any other honorable in this country, big name, dies today, did they plan that this X is going to die? You see, let's not make people look gullible.
Even now in this crisis, we don't know, but at least there has been commitment that money is going to be found.
Your commitment is useless. Commitment, now, you people they're giving commitment refused. The one who was saying, they're saying, commit with the, make commitment of at least, you know, you've heard what the spokesperson said on camera, that for us, we are struggling the money they give us. And this is what makes us feel that maybe we're having a selective approach to administration or governance. Selective. That there are areas of it. I have seen today all members in government are driving new fleets of cars. Have you noticed? There's this very beautiful
new product.
I think 2020 to 2023. I don't even know what it's but let's be honest. That car, I think one car costs about $1 billion. I'm thinking, I'm told it costs about. There are officials in this house next to us, our neighbors.
They're entitled to that.
That's okay. Who's not entitled to health care, Mollen? Is a woman from Naguru slums not entitled to health care? If that's what we're going to discuss, entitlements?
Did you read the Animal Farm?
No. You see, let's not be pejoratively clinched towards the discussion. Because entitlements, tell me who's not entitled?
Everyone is
entitled. A poor woman who's a vendor who can't afford the lavish hospital. Can you imagine? Yesterday, no, just a moment, okay. just 1 minute. In relation to this story, it is on record. Did you hear what the IGG said in one of the videos on social media?
Yes.
This is what she was talking about. Me, when I get sick, I'll call the president, she'll put me on a plane and I go to USA.
The IGG saying that openly.
Me, I don't feel the potholes, I have a nice car. Now, she's telling Ugandans, you should be the ones to make the noise. Let me tell you, that thing of entitlement, actually, I can prove that Ugandans are more entitled to health care service, fair health care, than these people's cars. Positions don't come with it. You tell me a constitution where they said that once you become a speaker, Robert, you're entitled to a car this size, a car this size, a car this size. When you're permanent secretary, when you're a minister, those are not entitlements. Those are simply political grants for political administration. They're not entitlements. That's why it's even being abused if you use it that way. But every Ugandan is entitled to good health care. Every child in Uganda is entitled to, because it's a constitutional right. Chapter 4 spells it out clearly. You tell me in chapter 4 they talk about minister having a brand new car. A convoy. Some of them that's abuse. Don't mistake abuse for entitlement. And that's the decay we are talking about. We can't be, how can you say we can't clear a bill that directly affects survival of more than 1 million Ugandans? But we can be able to get that money, whether on loan or what. Like, where are our priorities? And this is the discussion.
You do bring out very good points, and obviously we're looking at sustainability here and looking at a way forward. Because yes, right now we have a crisis. We can look at who has a share of that blame, and obviously at the top of it, this is a hospital, for example, the one we are looking at, that is the Kenyena Hospital, that is built on government aid. So that means that solely it is responsibility of government to be looking after this hospital in terms of what was agreed, especially when it comes to paying utility bills. And obviously this has not been done for quite some time, which is why they have areas that have even prompted National Water and Sewage Corporation to, cut off a water supply. But we want to look at a way forward now. And Felix did talk about a number of alternatives that can be taken, especially when you look at long term. And that is something that can be taken on, but also in the meantime, what would be a solution right now that can easily sustain a life there? Because we want the hospital to keep running. There are residents that are counting on health care from this hospital. Robert, as we move to conclude, what do you think we should be looking at as a solution?
First is, what are our priorities? Simple as that. What do we prioritize as a country? Do we prioritize health? And if you're looking at health, what are those key sectors? You see, we committed ourselves that 15% of our budget would go to health. Yeah. We have an international commitment, but we've never reached even 10% of our budget going to health. So we need to get our priorities right. And the biggest challenge is that day by day, we are having the gap between the rich and the poor extending. Despite a number of government efforts to narrow the gap, I want to tell you, there are people, and I want to say this because it was said on camera, recently under the Mabati saga, the Iron Sheet saga, one minister went to prison. He came back and said, I think God had a purpose for me to go there, so that I get to know the welfare and drums louder. Because the conditions in police cells, the conditions in our prisons were very hostile to him. And he understood. I don't know how far he has gone, Honorable Amos Lugorobi. But when people don't share your pain, they may not advocate for you.
Robert, do you mean to say we should wait for a minister to first can give birth or get sick and be admitted in
they don't,
some of the
things you're talking about? It is us,
the
journalists, that bring them to light.
The IG just told you.
Felix, you see, when you live in a different world, it is hard for you to sympathize and understand what people go through. Every day, how much does government give VIPs to go for treatment? The likes of Honorable Namboze, the likes of what recently Dr. Bedi Wanika was over saying, look how much we spend on one
billion.
You see, on one person. Maybe the treatment for that person. Unfortunately, some even never recover. They come. So how much we spend. You know, when people don't understand what others go
on top of the hefty bills, then you spend on the funeral.
Then you we need to, the drums is, we need to have priorities. Then finally, members of parliament, you have about 529. And you're very powerful and visible when crises happen. Can we use our thinking, what apparatuses and what, to be proactive? Sometimes I get upset when I see then a member of parliament comes, now do you want us to help people to demonstrate? But you have power in the August House. Why shouldn't we say, if we do not have the monies, why shouldn't we say that hospitals should be exonerated from paying things like electricity bills, water bills, and maybe other institutions, public hospitals, because private they are making money. Public hospitals should be exempted Is that so hard for us to pass if we agree and maybe find alternative? But also to the hospitals. Today we are talking about the bill. But in my career time, I've seen a number of bills of these hospitals where you find people tapped water, taps, people have their own. So that is also something, just like a Bible, because this is evidence, Felix. There was a time when yeah, but I'm bringing it out. Also, it's another area. We may talk about 1.3 billion. This happened in Murago there, where they went. And if they tell you how many people were connected to the water supply of the hospital, outside people, that it was a confusion. That you may reach in Abdul and find how many people are connected. They are not paying their bills because they are looking at government. So even us, we should make sure that the bill we have is the actual bill. But we should prioritize, we should exempt. A public hospital should not have among its concerns water and electricity as something that can cause even a disconnection. Plus, what Felix said, yes. If a person constructing
honestly, you can't tell me no one did think about that.
Can have a well or other. We have people who are innovative.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us Makerere University? We have a whole ministries, it's science, technology, and whatever. The huge monies we give. Even they have been able to go to the moon, and we send our satellite and all that.
Moon?
I mean, they have been able to send a satellite.
We have
and have alternative solutions.
Yeah.
Either solar generated.
Why are you massaging your ego?
Can't we have solar for water? Don't we have experts that can come up with other plan B alternatives? These days you're constructing, you dig a well.
Yeah.
3.5
if a poor Kirabo can have it, if a poor Felix,
Felix,
yes, can dig a well for
but he does really bring out what could be done, and obviously these are things that we should be looking at. And I'll throw the same to you, Felix. We're looking at a way forward here, because you look at also the side of the hospital. These are some of the things that a lot of hospitals struggle with in Uganda. It's not just the Nagoro, even a major hospital in Mulago. So we want to look at why we are considering alternatives. Also to that, tentatively, what is the solution? And also you look at the way forward, sustainability as well. Yes.
I think by far one of the biggest solutions must be financing. That's the basic start of it all. Unfortunately, this sector doesn't have a lot of mouthpiece. The people who should be the mouthpieces of this sector are aware of. They can afford the big hospitals that I won't mention. Actually, the lines, most recent now, even the private hospitals have appointments. You can wait for 4 days. So the clientele is I wouldn't say painfully catered for in private hospital. Because actually now on every road that takes you out of Kampala, you meet more than 20 hospitals. You know. So government hospitals have missed people to make this, to show the need. The people who get sick in government hospitals are the poor people. They have no forum for discussion. No one thinks about them. The only time they are thought about is time for elections as voters. But this time like this is not important. Secondly, I know for a fact, and anywhere in the world I can be challenged, government institutions must be better than private institutions for reasons that it is almost impossible to find that the well-to-do population is bigger than the struggling population. It is hard to find in anywhere in the world that the purpose for this, to cater for these people who cannot.
The majority of the population.
That's always the majority. Secondly, thirdly, that also health is a right. That should be, if the two can't compare you, look at the Constitution. The right to health. That means that every person should be able to access an available healthcare system that is also curative of whatever people struggle with. Modern, up to date. For example, today, if you found someone being pierced on the buttocks. Up to date. But look at what is happening in Uganda. The other solution is this. You people, there's things we take for granted. In fact, I agree, Honorable Nyonyintono, the one you're talking about, saying that you want us to fast strike. That is not Nyonyintono's problem, Robert. Let's be honest. Let's put politics aside. That is not Nyonyintono's problem. Honorable Nyonyintono is a representative of the area. He can only do lobbying up to that.
Has he brought this matter to plenary?
Listen, that matter is not a plenary matter.
Has he raised it anywhere apart from media?
Listen, that matter must have been dealt with. It shouldn't even have happened.
Yes,
he's only coming out because, and this is how some of our institutions have learned to work. If people strike, maybe the water will be paid. Yes, you saw what happened about this exhibition of the potholes. Now you see some potholes they are feeding. You see, because that is the fashion you have availed for the population. You can't blame them if they evoke it. Some of us, when we sit here and talk about these issues, no one listens. But you go there and undress. That's a very bad way of governance. You make people to become beggars, yet they are entitled. Unfortunately, we don't have statistics of how many people have died because of this, but you'll be surprised that there's also that statistic. In just a span of a week, probably. That is not the MP's problem. That is a government problem. That's a ministry issue that should be solved at that level. The Honorable Nyonyintono is simply an advocate. So the best way he has to advocate, if it is media, he will use it. But at this point, I can't say he's the one in fault. Whether he took or when let's point the finger where it should be pointed. These things shouldn't be happening. In the 21st century, but they cannot. What country are we living in if such a thing is still happening? And this works for both people, and the person they have the one who disconnects and the one they have disconnected from. What were you thinking?
And that is something
so that government is not going to change until maybe 5 years of an election. We can sort these things. That's why, remember the discussion we had about education. Why did some schools never chase people for school fees? There are better ways to handle such things. You're all government officials. You have a minister, you sit in the same cabinet. What you get the point. Like, how do you remedy these days what we have lost? I saw the story on TV and I saw a poor, I think, medical assistant or nurse carrying jerry cans. Medical officers now are carrying jerry cans up to the theater, maybe to clean. Really, in the 21st century?
Who's the what?
And then, no, you get the point. What does that say about the celebrations we do in terms of our independence? Independence is a big word, Mollen. It's a big word.
Allocations matter here. So
they are part of independence. If you can't fail to pay water bill, are you an independent country? Should we be going to Gondi?
It is the same.
Kololo?
It is we are the ones disconnecting.
That's what I'm saying. If
as a government agent,
it is the same
because
thing.
One has failed to pay.
It is the same
and this
thing.
is something that also one of our viewers is bringing out here. He's saying that given that they are all organs of the same body, the water bills are very high for even individuals. So water and power should remain as a public utility, provided that they should give almost free cost, especially for matters of public health. Those are
some question we were asking last time.
That
is something. Just give me a minute, Mollen and Robert. You remember last time we had a discussion similar. We asked ourselves, there are some installations that you ask, why are they paying for utilities? Mollen, you can't be a hospital, a government at that. And by the way, this is what you're worried about PPE. You're worried about medicine, you're worried about doctors who are striking. Ate we are killing amazi. When Narubale is here,
Of course,
then you put them off geography maps. You're bragging about the biggest lake.
Felix,
no, listen, Robert.
Well, I've been saying
Let him conclude.
As I conclude.
Let Felix conclude.
You see, these things may sound as jokes, but it is not enough for us to pride in one area and we are losing in the other. Schools. Government schools, only that for them probably they don't talk about, but many of them are off the grid. They gave up on water and electricity. They gave up many. We have talked about this. Barracks. These are installations that you can't. Someone can't be in Congo and Somalia and is worried about Charawanga Nazarirawa. You get the point. We must make utilities. And these are just simple things. Because I believe that some industries get them for free. You're giving tax holidays, Robert, to guys here for 10 years.
But not water and electricity tax.
It doesn't. What's the difference? What's the difference? If someone is supposed to have paid about 22 billion and you tell them don't pay for 3 years, but you can't give the same.
I think the solution, the quick solution is the quick solution to this problem, that these utilities, hospitals and other public services should not be paying for them. Because rightly saying, we know National Water and Sewage Corporation, yes, makes investments, has to collect this money for key installations. They shouldn't be paying electricity. They shouldn't be paying for water. But even we should also have alternatives to these where possible. We pride about innovation, we pride about having scientists. We must have, not manufacturing water, the other alternatives, like getting water underground.
Well, let's talk about
solar energy and all these as alternatives. Yes. But this is very sad. I hope and pray that the commitment by the PS, Ministry of Health, and the commitment by the PS Finance, that they have said they are going to handle this issue and see how best this bill can be addressed. However, it is not sustainable unless we look at the budget allocation, because the PR has said the money we are given to pay for these utilities, water and electricity, is very insufficient even to run these institutions. But one of these days, Mollen, we are going to ask for a toll-free number to the State House. Because when things get to His Excellency, they happen in a I think the people who there's a blockage of information flow.
So clearly there is need for representation at that level.
There's no representation. Because if this thing has fallen out of hand, but if His Excellency gets to know, you'll hear that I've released this. So probably we need a toll-free to
get to State House.
Because that's the only way that things happen. When the protocol was an issue.
Go on and on with this discussion, and obviously what is coming across is the matter of priority, and of course looking at how we can make sure that government does allocate enough funds to cater for some of these utilities, but also as Ugandans that love Uganda, some of these service providers should also be going easy, especially in matters of health. That is something to consider as well, while we look at how we can have alternatives or even prioritize some of these issues that come across. We also did have viewers that are coming in with their comments about this. Someone did say this money is given, but unfortunately probably goes to people's pockets. And he mentions the case of Lubowa Hospital that is even nowhere to be seen. Well, we also had someone else that did come out to say in normal circumstances, the minister in charge should resign, because how do the bills get there? It's risky for patients. Well, these are comments that are coming through, and someone is saying thanks for the show, and obviously looking forward to such discussions every morning. Well, we'll leave it at that. We'll be having more coming your way, of course, in the topical discussion with Good Morning Uganda agenda, but also want to look at what is making headlines in our papers this morning. You look at the New Vision. Somalia, Museveni reveals details on army casualties. That is a top headline right there. And also giving you more stories, Museveni urges NRM MPs to supervise government programs. That is right there for you. 220 education ministry jobs up for grabs. Get yourself a copy this morning. You could find that you are lucky in that area. Now, plastics, who are Uganda's biggest polluters? They give you right there in an open letter to plastic manufacturers and users, and a lot more that is involved in there. But also crossing borders, we look at some of the papers that are coming out this morning. The Daily Nation leading with a big headline right there, "They used me." Now, the grandmother who claims that she has become a nuisance as her powerful friends no longer pick her calls. Now, this is a person who was used in a story to demonstrate the poor people during the campaigns with President Ruto's government. And she goes ahead to say that after they used her story to get to the seat, they didn't even call her for the inauguration party. And of course, she gives her sentiments right there. But more in the headlines, MP's back push to outlaw, that is the detention of patients and bodies. Ruto says, I want to see MPs who will vote against the finance bill. Of course, much more coming out this morning throughout the Daily Nation that you can also get yourself a copy on, and of course follow up with the stories. For now, we will be taking a short break. When we get back, we take you to the roads, look at the traffic updates, and then later than that, also look at the weather updates for today. Good morning.
Eyange irisiti tompa bidara irisiti ojja kumpa irisiti tompa bidara irisiti ojja kumpa irisiti tompa bidara mpa irisiti yange.
That's right. Insist on getting your e-receipt. It's your ticket to fantastic prizes, including motorbikes, laptops, fridges, and a fully paid 6-day safari for 2 in Uganda. Take a picture of your e-receipt, upload it to the URA website or mobile app, and you could be the lucky winner. The more receipts you upload, the higher your chances of winning. Terms and conditions apply. More details on our social media channels.
Uganda Revenue Authority. Developing Uganda together. Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
Get away with MTN Momo Advance. Momo Advance tops up your Momo to complete your transactions. Dial *165*5*3# to apply. MTN Momo Advance is always available when you need it.
Juko.
Yo.
Wachiko. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief, and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government, designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, it is Good Morning Uganda. Right now we will be looking at the traffic updates here coming in from some of the roads that are joining Central City. This morning we are looking at areas of Chibuli. Also, if you're coming in from Namuwongo, also Kisugu, Kabalagala, Chibuye, some of the roads that you might need to look out for. Now, coming in from Namuwongo, you do have most of the roads over there that are looking like they have actually clear traffic. Namuwongo Road, as you join into the main road, that is also the junction that brings in 5th Street. That is where we have a bit of traffic that is indicated by the red lines over there. But then it does get clear Namuwongo Road as you head into town. That should actually be easy to navigate for this morning. Also coming in from the side of Muyenga, if you're using Mbogo Road, that looks to have clear traffic this morning. That is also indicated by the green lines over there on the map, and that could be easy for you to navigate. Also coming in from Muyenga Road again, that is if you're continuing with that road joining into Gaba, you do have traffic that builds up along that junction as you join into Gaba Road. So that is one that you might need to look out for. But then again, as you continue onto Gaba Road, you do have a clear route that is in terms of traffic over there. And also, if you look at Nsambia Estate Road, if you are to take that route, you do have quite intense traffic over there. So that is one that you might need to consider while you plan your journey. There is quite intense traffic right there, and it goes all the way up to, that is the junction that leads from the other side. That is the eastern side of Nsambia Estate. You do have Gogonya Road that also leads into that Gaba Road. Also, it does, that leads into Nsambia Estate Road. Also, it does have quite intense traffic. So that is one that you might need to be aware of. Of course, also if you're coming in from Chibuli, joining in, that is towards areas as you join onto the Nsambia Estate Road, that would also be having a little bit of traffic. But then again, as you head more towards town using Gaba Road, you have some clear traffic over there. It does go all the way up to, that is leading onto the upper Nsambia Road, Nsambia Estate Road, where the junction actually also has quite some traffic. And of course, there is construction work still going on around that area. So it does also contribute to a bit of traffic that builds up over that area at this particular time. Now, some of the downer roads, you're looking at Mokwano Road as well. It does have clear traffic as you lead into town. That goes all the way, that is joining into, that is the Nachivubo Road right there. That also has a bit of clear traffic, and of course leads onto that roundabout that connects to Entebbe Road. Entebbe Road as well, you do have quite a bit of intense traffic as you move away from the roundabout. Also, that area has construction work going on, so yes, there is a bit of traffic right there, but then again, it does get clear as you head towards the Kampala-Jinja Highway. That is one that you might also need to consider this morning. Away from that, we'll also be looking at the weather updates. We'll be tapping in from our satellites for this morning over Uganda and looking at what we have. We did start off with mostly cloudy weather building up for the eastern side of Lake Victoria. That is towards areas of Jinja, along that is Tororo as well. We did have a few drizzles over the area, but most of those have already cleared. We still have that system in play that is bringing cloudy weather, especially also towards the central part of Lake Victoria. That is areas of Mukono, also parts of Kampala, and more clouds that are building up towards Wakiso and Entebbe as well. And we do expect that might bring in rains later on as the morning progresses for several places within the Lake Victoria Basin. We're also looking at cloudy weather for Midwestern Uganda, the Southwest, Fort Portal right now as we speak, having mostly cloudy weather, Mubende, and that goes all the way up to the Rwenzori area where we're seeing the white colors on the map right there. That does indicate cloudy weather, and goes for also parts of Mbarara, Boshenyi, that extends up to the Kabale Highlands as well. We're looking at most of that also developing into mostly sunny intervals as the day progresses. Most of those clouds will have a mix of sunny conditions for southwestern Uganda. But also, again, it is quite a sunny morning for northern Uganda. We're looking at most of the areas across Arua, Yumbe, and all the way across Gulu, Apache, Lira, Padel. and also the Karamoja region, starting off with quite sunny skies. Goes on for areas of Kotido, Moroto, and also parts of Amuria, Soroti as well, starting off quite sunny. And the Ogun region is also starting off with mostly sunny weather. Now, we do expect that for this time of the year, yes, we have a continuation of dry conditions for most areas within the northern parts of the country, as well as the eastern part of Uganda. But as well, this is being fueled by a low pressure system that has actually been developing, that is across the parts of the Indian Ocean. And because of that, we're seeing that most of the moisture that would be coming to our region right now are now being diverted towards this low pressure system. And this is indicated by the forecast models across the medium range forecast for Africa that is being shown, where we have the red-green colors right there, that is to the eastern side of the Quarter Horn of Africa. This is where we have the low pressure system, and this is the one now taking away much of the moisture that would be coming towards our area. And for that, we're seeing a reduction in wet weather activities for the northern part of the country as well as eastern Uganda. Otherwise, we should be having continuation of wet weather activities over that area. But again, we're also looking at more for this season. We could have a pickup in wet weather activities for that particular area. That is as this low pressure system, of course, fills and dissipates from that area. But that is also going to affect the rest of the country, and as we move into tomorrow, that could still be around, so meaning that even the rest of Uganda, we could have a reduction in wet weather activities throughout much of tomorrow. And of course, we'll be looking forward to see how and when it dissipates, because that will also mean that we might have again a throwback of more rains coming in as it goes away. And we'll be tracking that system, obviously giving you updates here in our Good Morning Uganda. Well, that is it for now. We'll be going in for Good Morning Uganda agenda that will be coming in right after this. My name is Mollen, Kenyena. I want to wish you a wonderful day.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
This is the University of Africa. On the streets, you get your real education. Here, everybody has a degree of something. But the most important qualification is imagination. Her reason to imagine is slay. His reason is to be the goat. Theirs is to take the beat and make it lit. They want to test edgy until it is fire. Their reason for imagination is to add riz in style. Her reason to imagine is finesse. And hers is to find what's new and bussin'. So no matter what your situation, just use your imagination.
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
The Magical Egypt Tour 2023 is here. A heavenly miracle waiting across the natural and divine attractions of Egypt, such as Cairo, Giza Pyramids, Saqqara, Memphis, and many more that will offer the gift of a lifetime. The chance to unlock all of the hidden powers of mind and soul, gain the enlightenment of the past and the future, and develop the power of healing. Departure will be Friday 16th up to 23rd June 2023. Basic package starting at $1,200, 8 days and 7 nights. To register,
Welcome to Gotove Tours and Travel at Nalkwego Complex Suta, UG's Extender, George Street, Nakasero, or call +256 758 530 059 or +256 784 568 392 or WhatsApp +256 782 556 078. Only few slots are left. Powered by UBC Television.
Eyange irisiti tompa bidara irisiti ojja kumpa irisiti tompa bidara irisiti ojja kumpa irisiti
tompa bidara mpa irisiti yange. That's right. Insist on getting your e-receipt. It's your ticket to fantastic prizes, including motorbikes, laptops, fridges, and a fully paid 6-day safari for 2 in Uganda. Take a picture of your e-receipt, upload it to the URA website or mobile app, and you could be the lucky winner. The more receipts you upload, the higher your chances of winning. Terms and conditions apply. More details on our social media channels.
Uganda Revenue Authority. Developing Uganda together.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
Eyo jole sesi eyange irisiti tompa bidara irisiti ojja kumpa irisiti tompa bidara irisiti ojja kumpa
tompa bidala mpa irisiti yange kyekyo kakasa njofuna irisiti yo kubanga etiketi kw'onoowangulira ebirabo ssemalabo omuli zipikipiki laptops zifridge ne safari y'abagala n'ababiri okulambulako mu Uganda ku bwereere. Irisiti yo gikuba ekifaananyi okiteeka ku URA website oba ku mobile app ofuuka obukuba nnamukisa gy'okoma okuteekayo irisiti ennyingi n'emikisa gye gy'okuwangula gye gikoma okweyongera. Ebisingawo bisange ku mikutu gyaffe egy'okumutimbagano.
Uganda Revenue Authority. Developing Uganda together.
Yankwenu naawe olowooza ababbi b'oku street be banzibye saabo kankubulire natikka ebintu byange okuva China ne bangamba neetaaga tiini namba nze nga sigirina neetuma omuntu omulala abindeetere kati ngenze mu URA baŋŋambye ebintu byange ebiri mu manya gange era si byange mbu sayina tiini namba nze kati nebya tiini namba sibitegeera. Nane mfudde obusete neewola mwewole ye tiini namba byebiki bannange sente zange
tax identification number oba giyite namba musuubuzi gyewandiisa biwala asasulira emisolo
kati ebyo nze njifuna ntya bambikola ntya
ebintu babigonza olina ndagamuntu
iyi njirina
ogenda bugenzi ku website ya URA
www.ura.go.ug awo n'olondako e-services then n'ogenda ku tin registration awo n'oteeramu n'ennamba yo n'omwaka gwe wazaalibwamu amannya go gajja kweleeta automatically awo n'ojjuzaamu n'ebirala bitono nnyo ebyetaagisibwa ng'ennamba y'essimu yo email address yo ne gy'obeera era nga bino osobola obbisanga emabega wandaga muntu yo then n'osubmitinga nga kamesagi kajja direct ku ssimu yo mu ddakiika ntono nnyo
nga sina bannange bintu bikolera ddala bannange obugayaavu kibi omanyi obugayambo bukuza muti bannange weebale Dangote bannange omponyeza omanyi ebintu byange bingi byowonyeza okubbibwa nzizeyo mu URA mbalage nti njirina.
Okubeera ne tini namba kikuyamba mu bintu bingi nnyo okugeza mu kusuubula n'okusuubuza eby'emiguzi mu Uganda ne wabweru wa Uganda, okuddizibwa ensimbi okuva ku misolo gy'ozosasula, okufuna looni mu banka ez'enjawulo, okufuna layisinsi okuva mu government agencies zonna, okuwandiisa emmotoka yo n'okugula oba okutunda ettaka.
URA tukulaakulanyize wamu Uganda. The Magical Egypt Tour 2023 is here. A heavenly miracle waiting across the natural and divine attractions of Egypt, such as Cairo, Giza Pyramids, Saqqara, Memphis, and many more that will offer the gift of a lifetime. The chance to unlock all of the hidden powers of mind and soul, gain the enlightenment of the past and the future, and develop the power of healing. Departure will be Friday 16th up to 23rd June 2023. Basic package starting at $1,200, 8 days and 7 nights. To register, come to Gotove Tours and Travel at Nalkwego Complex Suta, UG's Extender, George Street, Nakasero, or call +256 758 530 059 or +256 784 568 392 or WhatsApp +256 782 556 078. Only few slots are left. Powered by UBC Television.
Mwami Musoke, njose nekusanga.
Ate chichi.
Munange, anti gwamanya kunyinyonyola ebintu by'emisolo bino n'embitegeera.
Ate chichi leero.
Mbadde ku dduuka n'empulira nga abakyala bagamba tulina okwewandiisa mu nkola ya IFRIS.
Tukikolanga.
Ate
kituufu nnyo.
Mbadde sikimanyi nakyo.
Eyo y'enkola egenda okutuyamba okulwaninga bizinesi zaffe mu ngeri ya digital.
Etya.
Oba olina okuwandiisa bizinesi yo mu IFRIS osobola okumanya omuwendo gw'ebintu by'olina mu bizinesi yo, enfulumya n'ennyingiza mu bizinesi yo. Awo URA esobola okukola omulimu gwayo ogw'emisolo obulungi.
Nedda Mwami Musoke kyesitegeera. IFRIS eyingira etya mu bizinesi yange?
Kakati enkola ne IFRIS eyingiza bizinesi yo mu sisitemu ya URA kubanga tekyali kya buntu bulamu okugerekera omusolo ogutali mutuufu abateebereza buteebereza.
Ekyo kituufu ddala bannange, ekyo kituufu kubanga mazima obadde omusolo gubadde gwapaala bupaazi ng'ogenda n'osasula omusolo gw'otomanyiiko omutwe n'amagulu kwegamba bambi nga tekiriiyo.
Olaba kakati ate n'ekirala IFRIS eyamba okukuuma ebiwandiiko bya bizinesi yo kuba biyinza okubulako, biyinza okukwata omuliro, naye kati wano IFRIS biba biri digitalized.
Bannange nekola ntya okwewandiisa?
Kyangu nnyo, waludde dda. Okwewandiisa mu nkola ya IFRIS, genda ku kibanja kya URA www.ura.go.ug. Awo olondeko e-invoicing. Awo no ugoberere endagiriro. URA tukulaakulanyize wamu Uganda.
Yankwenu naawe olowooza ababbi b'oku street be banzibye saabo kankubulire natikka ebintu byange okuva China ne baŋŋamba neetaaga tiini namba nze nga sigirina neentuma omuntu omulala abindeetere kati ngenze mu URA baŋŋambye ebintu byange tebiri mu manya gange era si byange mbusayina tiini namba nze kati nebya tiini namba sibitegeera nfudde obusete neewola bwewole ye tiini namba byebiki bannange sente zange
oba giyite namba musuubuzi zewandiisa biwala asasulira emisolo
kati ebyo nze njifuna ntya bambikola ntya
ebintu babigonza olina ndagamuntu
njirina
ogenda bugenzi ku website ya URA
www.ura.go.ug awo n'olondako e-services then n'ogenda ku tin registration awo awo nno woteeramu n'ennamba yo n'omwaka gwe wazaalibwamu, amannya go gajja kweleeta automatically. Awo n'ojjuzaamu n'ebirala bitono nnyo ebyetaagisibwa ng'ennamba y'essimu yo, email address yo ne gy'obeera, era nga bino osobola obbisanga emabega wandaga muntu yo. Then n'osubmitinga nga kamesagi kajja direct ku ssimu yo mu ddakiika ntono nnyo
nga sina bannange bintu bikolera ddala bannange obugayaavu kibi. Omanyi nti obugayaavu bukuza mu bannange weebale Dangote bannange omponyeza. Omanyi ebintu byange bingi byowonyeza okubbibwa. Nzizeyo mu URA mbalage nti nkirina.
Okubeera ne tini namba kikuyamba mu bintu bingi nnyo, okugeza mu kusuubula n'okusuubuza eby'emiguzi mu Uganda ne wabweru wa Uganda, okuddizibwa ensimbi okuva ku misolo gy'ozosasula, okufuna looni mu banka ez'enjawulo, okufuna layisinsi okuva mu government agencies zonna, okuwandiisa emmotoka yo n'okugula oba okutunda ettaka.
URA tukulaakulanyize wamu Uganda.
Amanya gange ndi tubona Kiranda Amina mu company eya WIB Uganda Limited ndi member. Wemba member company eno weyeida twalinga tutuli bulungi ng'abakyala abe wakawaka. Ng'abakyala abe wakawaka tuwemerera ku baami baife nga bonkana abajamu nanda nga twidi nti abakyala tebakozesa ki nanda. UN Women weyeida yatuteekateeka yatwegesa okulunda engege ng'abakyala. Twatandika beno okudulunda n'okudirisa n'okolaki twafunamu ng'abakyala ababujiri district. Abakyala ababujiri district sofa tuli abakyala 14 abakola project eya WIB. Abakyala 14 twayawula mu sectors. Mulimu abakyala ba production abaliisa, mwaba abakyala ba validation abongera engege omutindo bayongerako omutindo, twaba n'abakyala ba harvesting abaharvestinga, twaba n'abakyala abakolaki aba marketing. Sector dona diri trained era didi kyedikola ki kyedikola. Project eno tufunyemu ng'abakyala. Government yaife ne ya Uganda njebaza okujja kujanga batulingirira mu ng'abakyala abana Uganda eri kujanga eturobingira ebibiina bingi. We have UWEB baleta parish development model, we have Myoga, byona biri kwida muki mu bakyala oba mu bantu abaki aba Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning and thank you for being with us on UBC TV. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda Agenda, where we usually have a guest in our studios, but you can also be part of the topic of discussion by simply going to our various social media platforms, and I'll be reading the messages there. But not forgetting, we have a number that will also be popping up on your screen, so you can use that number to send us a text message or a WhatsApp message. I'm Robert Kirabo Nyonyintono, in case you have just joined. But I can't forget to remind you that every weekday we are here from 6:30. That is when Good Morning Uganda kicks off. For do not miss, because we have so much for you every day. Some moments of laughter, some jokes here, yet very informative, because we let you know what is happening locally and internationally to enable you kickstart your day a very informed person. Now, joining me on set today is a senior citizen. He's been around for some time. He's a flight captain, I must say. He did that so much so, and also the political scene. He's done his contribution, and he's never withered to ensure that Uganda is on the right track. Join me welcome my guest, who is Captain Edward Francis Babu. You're most welcome, Captain.
Very much, and good morning, and thank you for having us.
It's a pleasure.
Interesting. After 3rd of June, which is a Saints' Day in Uganda, it's nice to be here. And there's a beautiful song by a Nigerian, say, God has done it, finally. So it is nice to know that God is with this country.
Amen. Well, lovely to say. And now, Captain, today we are looking at our international relations with other countries. Now, this follows the signing of the famous anti-homosexuality bill by His Excellency, and now being a law, where we've seen a number of mixed reactions, but above all, threats to cut aid to Uganda. We've seen under PEPFAR, under UNSAID, and of course His Excellency on his tweet has talked about the 1.2 million Ugandans that have been benefiting greatly from the aid coming in every year, and saying, what will be the fate of these people? Should we let them go? But also comes out and says, now it's a time for us to be very independent and leave alone being this parasitic way of doing. Someone has to feed us. It's now our time to say we are placed between a hard place and a rock, so we must find ways of survival. To begin with, I just want your opinion on the signing of this anti-homosexuality.
Yeah,
let's begin with that.
I think you've really jumped the gun. Let us start with our international relations, because those are two different things. What is our relationship with other people in the world, in the global arena? First and foremost, Uganda from independence has had very good relationship with all the countries, starting with by the way, the first, if you look at the CD numbers, the first was not Britain. I think it was France or Germany. And all those have been our friends from 1962. We have got a good friendship. First and foremost, we have the East African community, where we are members. We have COMESA, we have IGAD, we have the African Union. We are members. We are members of the United Nations Organization, UNO, with all its affiliates. We are members of the Commonwealth. European Union, through the Lome Convention, we have a representative in Brussels. OIC, the Organization of Islamic Countries. Then you have the non-aligned movement, where we are members. Then there's this group called the Bretton Woods. This is the World Bank and IMF, and you can go on the African Development Bank, and you can call the East African Development Bank. So our relationship with other people has been very, very, very good, to an extent that we even contribute internationally, as we are talking right now, in places like Mogadishu and many other places where Uganda has gone and contributed to the peace of the world. So once you've answered that, then we have the bilaterals, the bilateral relations between us and other countries. And we have those European countries, we have the American countries, we have South American, we have Far East, and so on. So we are members, and we have diplomatic relationship, a very good one. We've not really having problems with others. However, now your question of a relationship, a love-hate relationship. First and foremost, you should not take it as an international thing. The problem we're having is not international. It's certain countries that over the years have assumed to be the prefects of other countries.
I love that word, prefect.
Yeah, they want to be the ones to tell you what to do.
Yes.
But that's human nature. Human nature wants to control, domination. Now, these countries that want to dominate us are countries that for years have played a game right from the time of the slave trade. They came here, took our people with all the energies, developed their countries. They're actually living on the muscle of the African person when they didn't have all those modern things they're using today. Then you go, the slave trade ended in 1833, but they never, of course, did end it. They continued with it in different forms. And if you go on looking at the history of this, the Western countries, especially the people, our friends who come from the European countries, who are they? Who are these people? If you look very carefully, the Americans were the people who were the dregs of European society that were taken to Europe, and the others were taken to Australia. These are people who still have these unfortunate habits of thinking that an African is somebody you should play around with. And I think time has come, and for Africans, and I'm happy this happened, because it is going to make us wake up. Who is our enemy? Who is the enemy of an African? Who is the enemy of Uganda? The problem is we are so naive as Africans. There was a gentleman who was talking about Africans compared to the other people in the world. He said you look at an Indian, you look at a Korean, you look at a Chinese, and if you see the way they work with the Europeans, those people have learned how Europeans work, and they're now bypassing the European. For us, we have continued to be subservient to the Europeans and the so-called international community. And that thing annoys me. They say they are international community because they've got a little bit of money. International community is everybody. But when we talk international community, what comes in your head is America and Europe, isn't it? That's the international community. Now, these are things that they are coming up with, which are very, very unfortunate. And that brings us to the point. Why should America, where we have a very good relationship, we have a lot of respect for America, we have a lot of respect for United Kingdom and Europe as such, why should they tell us how we should run with our culture? Africa has got its culture, and we have got taboos, we've got all sorts of things. And you come and you start, become condescending and telling us what we should do. Now, this is very, very unfortunate. And you're saying that when the president signed this, that is not the real thing. The real thing about it, and they've been saying it for some years, and some of you have not been hearing it, they want to control the population of Africa. So to control that population, they've got to get an antidote. What is the antidote? Either they give you chemicals, which a lot of our women have been taking for birth control, but that is not fast enough. Either they give you some sort of inoculation, which makes you impotent. What basically it is that it's not what you're thinking about. It's not homosexuality. They've got a bigger picture. The population of Africa is about 1.4 billion, as we talk right now. They want to control it. But they use Africa as the guinea pigs. They are not talking about the other countries that are as big as ours. India has got 1.4 billion. China has 1.4 billion. In fact, India has bypassed China now. Now, the question is, how do we control? We can control it using modern methods. One of the biggest antidote of birth control is the economy. The economy will not allow you to have more than a certain number of kids because you've got to look after them. So, at the end of the day, and I'm sorry to do this, America and the European Union, their traits, their real habits are coming out. They are terrorists. What? They are terrorizing Africans. They are terrorizing other people in third world countries by using they are using the power of money. Are you with me now?
Yes.
So then you come to this group called the Bretton Woods group. That's the World Bank and IMF. They use them as weapons. I was really surprised to hear an officer, supposedly, working for the World Bank. I hope it is true. It is not blackmail. This person said that Uganda should stop refusing to give homosexuals HIV drugs. When you go to get HIV drugs, they don't ask you for your sexual orientation. Yes. That's absolutely bonkers. Now, that gentleman or lady in the World Bank who said that, in my opinion, should resign. Because we are members of the World Bank, we are a signatory of the World Bank. Now, the Americans, and starting with their president, we are tired of their terrorism. They did it in Libya. They have done it in other countries in Africa, like Congo and many others. We also now have to stop and say enough is enough.
Captain, when you talk about their intentions that one and behind the curtain, it is all about population control.
Yes, it is.
But then, where does this put African countries as independent countries?
Tell me, what's the inherent human rights of human beings? To eat, to breathe, yeah? And to have sex between a man and a woman. There's nothing like a right or having a sex between men and women and women. That's not a right. That is absolutely abnormal. So anybody who tells you this is, so I had somebody saying it is in the Bible. I went in the Bible and looked, I did not see anything. I had others talk about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I did not see homosexuals in there. Where is this human rights coming from? Why are they deceiving us? We're not kids. Yeah? That is not human rights. That is a perversion. Perversion brought about by people being treated, people who are unable to stay within the community, and people who are sick. It is a sickness. What they should do is to give us more money so that we can treat them. Instead of fighting our president and fighting our parliament, I don't care what mistakes our president has done or what the country has done. This particular one is wrong. They are wrong.
But then where does it leave? Because we must accept that as of late, much of our budget or the aid we get from these benefits of these bilateral relations with this country does so much to sustain our environment, our economy, and many will tell you they could be the only place where we can get money on conditions they are giving us. So does that leave us?
What do you mean industrial?
Because the fear is now, what next?
But why do you deceive yourselves? They are stealing things from you and they're giving you the same money from the things they have stolen from you. They've got the biggest gold comes from Africa, biggest platinum comes from Africa, oil comes from Africa. All these things, they take them from the drops, the little things that remain, they give you money. Why don't you develop your own things here and sell it? A man here called Dubai goes in a piece of sand, gets oil out and builds something where all of you now are going even for medical treatment. He used the oil. You've got marble in Karamoja. You've got copper in Kasese. You've got oil. You've got a new it's the coltan for making telephones. It's here. Instead of borrowing money to make tourism, borrow money to make the coltan so that you can sell it. Why do you borrow money to make tourism? When you borrow money to make a tourism, it's the Europeans who are coming here. They don't want to come here. Why don't you get the money, go and make coltan, go and make the telephones, or make the telephones here? Go and get marble, which is the biggest in Africa. Get the Italians, who are the experts in marble, sell marble. We borrow money to sell marble, marble will make money, you'll be able to pay back. And you don't have to borrow it from Bretton Woods. You can borrow it from bricks now. There are other countries that have got money. But you people are so subservient to these white people. When they snap their finger, you jump. A time has come for us to stop.
Well, you've given us
and then Baganda and even you have got, I don't know what language. Baganda says, "Omumpi wakoma wakwata." Cut the cloth to your size. For goodness sake, Africans have to stop. You've got to pull your finger out. And stop putting our president and our parliament in the leeway. And I hear people were even given money. There were bribes going on because of this stupid law. As far as I'm concerned, we shouldn't even have made that law because the British had made that law here. It was here. We only amended it. We are being punished for amending it. But the law was there, made by the British. Why don't you now first get the British who made that law sanctioned? We didn't make it.
We amended what we had.
If I were to speak Swahili, munapotezwa na nyinyi munakubali, you are being...
Well, I will not let you do so much. But you've mentioned of the possible solutions in terms of building our economy to be independent, more sustainable. But the question is, we've been in a number of situations. COVID-19 was here, where we saw we couldn't even fly jets and all that.
It doesn't matter, but we went through.
But what happened is still how do we sail through?
Uganda is one of the countries that was saluted by the WHO for doing the right thing. So if we can do that in a very dire condition, we really marble.
Captain, one of the things we thought, for example, let's go back to COVID. We had so much, we are going to develop our own vaccine, we are going to make so many breakthroughs. We seem to have the solutions to our problems, but we fail to implement these solutions.
No, we are implementing. The problem is there is a lot of propaganda in this country, and there is a lot of, I know it all. When I was in school, we used the word Waizeka. Too many Waizekas in this country who think they know when they don't know. Let's get experts to tell us what the problem is. They tell you that when you hurry with it, also you have other side effects. In fact, some of these drugs now, because they did them so fast, they begin to say they might have other unfortunate side effects which are not good. So normally to develop a vaccine takes a bit of time. Now give the scientists what they deserve and stop being a scientist throughout. You go and stand on Kampala Street and you become a scientist. You go and stand in Parliament, you become an expert of budget. No. There are people who are experts in these things. Let us use our Ugandans who know what to do and let them advise us. So and this business said they have stolen money, they have done this. The people who say they have stolen money are the ones who are actually stealing money.
But we've had this for ages, all the time.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Are we ready to move in that direction?
Do you know a man called Ford?
Yes, the manufacturer of
He
Ford.
tried about 10 times to produce a car. It was the 10th time that he succeeded. You do things and you make mistakes, you correct them and you continue. We are human beings. But no human is perfect.
But foundation
but
matters.
I have a saying, yes, we all make mistakes.
Captain.
Yes.
The mistakes we are making as a country in terms of not getting our priorities right, do you think we have a foundation that can get us to being self-sustaining?
Have you been hearing what is happening in Britain?
Of
mistakes? Britain has been making one mistake after the other for many, many years. But they fall down and they stand up. Baganda have a saying, a calf grows by falling down and standing up, falling down and standing up. We make mistakes, yes, I agree. But those mistakes, can we overcome them? Yes, the answer is yes. The problem we have, and this is different, is that we are not using the right people to do the right job. We are not putting the round holes in the right, the round peg in the right.
As in saying we don't have the right people in terms of human resource, but not giving them the opportunity to participate where they can excel best.
Correct. And they go and excel outside the country. The best doctors in South Africa, the best Ugandan doctors in the States, the best Ugandan doctors in London, and here we can't give them the best facilities. Right now I was coming in the car and I heard that Kayunga has got all the best eye equipments in the hospital, but they have no doctor. But the eye doctor is now in South Africa. The eye doctor is in New York. We are not paying him. We have specialists. You're going to bring some wish-washer, put them in an airline. You bring somebody because he's your relative, you put them in the army. You heard what the president said? Now, those are the kind of things that we need to overcome. But you will overcome them because it's a process. I forgive, by the way.
When you talk about the word process, this worries me. I'll use also Luganda saying, "Enjoy chama musinji." Even if the foundation of a house, if it has issues, no matter what you do, even at the roofing, the problem is still there.
You still have to go back and correct it. A human being must correct the mistakes. Whenever you make a mistake, correct it. I'm not saying you cannot make it. I'm saying it should be corrected. There are mistakes which annoy me, and they annoy you. We are human beings. Our life is so short. I was reading, I read quite a little bit, and there was this bus, and there was an old lady sitting, and a young lady came with a lot of bags and sat next to the lady, knocked her, and the other lady just kept quiet. So this young lady asked the old lady, "How come you have not said anything?" I said, young," and she laughed. The old lady laughed and said, "No, I'm going to get off the next stage. With the time I have, I don't waste time talking about such things. There are things we waste time on and leave the things that are important. What we need is to use our best human capital, human resource to change this country, and we can."
Now, the other question, Captain, is who are our next ally in the cases of these bilateral relations with countries that have come up and clearly stated that in case we do not have a change of position, we may lose a lot of
No. These are our friends. That is their view. We have a view. We have to find somebody more diplomatic to talk to them. We must make them understand our position. Relationships, they always have this, even between her wife and husband, a relationship between two countries which have been given false information. Because I am saying that their statements are being made on false foundation and information. They have not been given. For example, one of a Ugandan, I had a Ugandan speak, saying, You are not giving HIV drugs to homosexuals. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
A Ugandan. So the person in America gets that kind of information and thinks it is true. So the gentleman in America, or a lady, we must sit down and say, this is our position. By the way, the United States have got several states, starting with Florida, Georgia, and so on and so forth, that do not accept homosexual. They've got rules there. So when we are talking, we should say, but you also have it here. Like we have people. Those states are equivalent to our countries, by the way. Some of those states are bigger than our country. And they also already have these rules. So we need to convince our partners. We need to talk to the European Union, and the European Union should also, find out to themselves, why are they having this problem? And now, I've had somebody from the United States saying that this is a rule, this is a new tactic by the white supremacy to fight the Africans. Now, this I'm not going to go for that, but I'm going to say whatever the reasons might be, they are not good enough. And we need to sit down and discuss this. We've got our culture. The Europeans have their culture. All right? We must try and find out the blend and find out where we can meet. And whilst we don't disturb their culture, we do not interfere in their affairs. We don't want them to interfere in our affairs. We're also nations, and we have a certain pride. And I think this is where the problem is. The problem is we need this business, and please, for goodness sake, all of you, stop being beggars. We are not beggars. We work with them because we thought...
We failed to sustain ourselves.
No, we have not failed. We have not failed. And this is where you're getting it wrong. This country, the reason why our economy is what it is because we can eat and sleep. There are other countries who have failed to sustain their economy. Right now, the other day, in the United States, they had to go to Congress to increase the ceiling of their borrowing. And you know what it means, borrowing in America? Printing more money. So please, we are not the only ones who are having that problem. The economy of the world globally is having an effect on some people. The other day I saw in Ghana, people were being caught in the mine because they were doing it illegally. You find people are killing each other because of the economy. Britain is having problems with their inflation. Yes. So please, when you're saying countries have problems, yes, we have a problem. I am not refusing. Our mistakes are also known. What we need to do, first of all, to correct our mistakes, live within our means, and find solutions to the problems that we have. What we need is a team.
You've mentioned live within our means.
Yes.
Captain, are we living beyond our means as a country?
Yes, we are. Because we've gone into politics of trying to impress. Somebody goes and builds a road where no car goes, and it's all tarmac. You find 2 cars pass there the whole day. Because you want to impress, you want to get votes. No. If the infrastructure, we can't afford it, let's do the infrastructure that we need to make money. For example, I think we should spend more money in a city like Kampala, where we're getting 70% of our income out of taxes. Make it neat so that we can continue. Then we do those things slowly. I'm not saying we shouldn't do them. We should, and then we should find means of making more money so that we can make those roads we're talking about. I have no problem. But let's do it in stages. Let us not carry too much of things that we can do. For example, I am a great supporter that UPE is a very important thing. But the amount of money we have is not good enough. Why don't we leave those who can afford to pay school fees, and those who cannot afford, we pay for them? Now, this is a very simple thing. Live within your means, and I think we can. Most of our wishes are true. They are very good, and I would like to most of them to be achieved. But let's do them slowly. Swahili, they say pole pole ndio mwendo, slow but sure.
Well, just remind our viewers that you can be part of the topic of discussion this morning as we are looking at the Anti-Homosexuality Act 2023 and, of course, what does it mean to our international relations as a country where we have had threats as a country from some of our partners, we call them development partners, who are saying, well, they may threaten to cut some aid to us, but even that, what does it mean in terms of away from just aid, but this relationship? For a long time, of course, it's not only been about the money that they're sending, but even other programs of help that we've been getting from them as a country. Please use the number on your screen, send me a WhatsApp message or a text message to my guest, and he'll be responding to your statement, to your questions. I have one here. Thanks, Mr. Babu, for your message. Okay, someone is saying thank you so much, is following. Thanks for the program. Now someone sends, I hope this is not Swahili. Uganda is an independent state. America should mind their business. Government should reduce on extravagancy by its officials. And the president should talk, the president should talk the walk. If I think should walk the talk against corruption. Let Honorable Kamia's system of lifestyle audit be applied. Lastly, the classified budget should be reduced. We are no longer involved in Kony or any other rebel in Uganda. Agriculture, we should invest much in agriculture. Now, that's his view. Hello, thanks for the program, and would want Captain to ask the Western world, what are the genetical benefits of homosexuality in record? Because man and woman procreate. What is it intended for? That is Moses Akomo from Soroti. Yes. Yes, so far that's what we have here. One says extravagancy. You've talked about extravagancy.
Yeah, well, what basically he's saying, let's get our economy in order. And he's right. But everything that has been said there is correct. Now, when you're talking about the economy, the order, the problem is we are having a lot of, we are also learning in our politics. There's a lot of propaganda also. But the economy, yes, it is not in a good, it's not healthy. And they are correct. Corruption is something that is important to look at. But these are symptoms of mismanagement. You see, you know, a lot of people in this country do not analyze this symptom of corruption. Why do we have corruption? That's point number one. Why do we have mismanagement? That's number two. Number three, why do we have this sort of people when we used to have very good people in the past? Because at independence, we inherited one of the best civil service in the world. Some of them were so good to an extent that when Amin came in power, he made them all ministers and destroyed the civil service, which nobody realized at the time. And this continued. Now, our civil service was very well trained. They are technically very, very competent people. But then there is this weakness that has come in with our political class. One of the reasons why you have the ombudsman, that's the IGG, was to go for this group that is untouchable. So they declare their wealth and they want to be a leader. We must know whether you're clean or not. Now, this is something that we need to sit down and stop talking too much. There's too much talking and they talk a lot of nonsense. Right? Now, if you want to go out there and find solutions to this corruption. Now, we've got police, security has got corruption. You've got IGG. You've got State House. State House, I think I've had several. Fighting for land, fighting for this. These are all, we're trying to find a solution to the problem. But we need to come out and become tough and become patriotic and turn this country around. Now, that I agree entirely. Now, we have what we call administrative costs, which I agree with. It is too big. We have a parliament of 529 people. This country is so poor. I think we need about 150, right? And we need ministers, 80. No, we need 20 ministers and the assistant, let them be 40. So let us become serious about this, not because I don't want other people to have jobs, but because we can't afford it. And a lot of people have this problem of thinking they are superhuman, they must get jobs. I've even realized it is in the church. You're now 65, go away. You're now in the university, you're 60, go away. No, sometimes the best lecturers, the other day I was reading during COVID, the best lecturers were people who were about 90, 80, who were sitting on the computer and teaching students who were at home. Now, sometimes we overdo things. We are permanently trying to push somebody out, it's a war. We need to get our best to help this country to move forward.
Well, hope we have that human resource. We have many of it, because one time the president said that sometimes it's not all about qualification, it's about also integrity. That when the State House, I think, anti-corruption unit was employing people, they looked more at academic qualification and forgot an element. We have so many elite in this country.
You know, young people are becoming very interesting. The other day I met a young man, and by the way, I appreciated him. I said, you're now a big man, because I'd met him when he was young in Kampala Parents. And he told me, he says, yes, sir, I've got a master's degree, I did computer, I now have a company for cyber security. I said, oh, fantastic. And I'm happy that many of you now have done computer. He said, yes, there are many people with very high qualification. Unfortunately, Captain, we don't have character. Now, that word character is a very important word for people who are going to do a certain job. You must have the character to do the job. Not the PhD, not the master's degree, but how do you translate your master's degree into a good character to do the job?
Let's look at some of the messages that are coming in still. If I don't read out your message, it could be similar with somebody else, and I'm sure I'll get, hello, thanks for the program. I'm following Wekoye Sylvester from Manafa. Thank you, brother, all the way from Manafa. There is a hike in food prices. The act has increased the cost of living. If only food security can be assured, we do not need their help. That is Miracle from Ginger.
Oh, you're right.
Then, thank you for this program. I would like to know how government is going to have HIV positive patients put on treatment. Lamek from Kawempe. For him, is one of us scared there. Thanks for the program. We appreciate the donations of USA to Uganda. What's the relationship between LGBT and donations? Bwambale James from Fort Potro. He's wondering. Good morning. How can you say that we poor yet we are not using credit cards? She's asking if you are poor, we may be. Hello, thanks for the show. I am Isaac from Toro. I absolutely corroborate with Captain. Homosexuality haven't existed in either human rights nor in the Bible. If it is mentioned in the Bible, then it was when God, that same European, brought us destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. I like the submission by Captain Francis Babu. Their population control plan means they are interested in our resources.
Yes.
Let them enjoy their homosexuality and leave God-fearing Uganda. Move freely alone. Derek from Bunyangabu. Well, the messages are really
No, let's check the other one on credit cards. The whole of the West, they don't use money. They're using plastic money. So he's saying, if we are poor, why aren't we using credit cards? In other, why should we not be living on credit? And that's basically what he's saying. Yes. You see, in the whole of the Western world, they don't use money anymore. They're using plastic money. And people are permanently paying debts. So he's trying to show you, although we are poor, we are not that poor. Ugandans, I told you, they know what is going on. Now, the other guy who talked about food security and the food is the one which is helping our economy. I support them entirely, and I think government should put more money in agriculture. And this is why when President Museveni is talking about household income, it becomes important when you talk about those programs which everybody is playing around with, which can help our country to have more food. So the more food we have, the better for our economy.
Well, Captain, in the interest of time, I must let you go, but your concluding remarks on our topic this morning.
Well, first and foremost, I want our partners to please desist from making these unfortunate statements because they look like they are terrorizing us. There's no need to terrorize our parliament. There's no need to terrorize our president. The president is not the one who moved the motion. It was brought as a private member's bill. It came to parliament. The majority of our people did that one. The Western world tells us that there's something called democracy. Democracy lives on something called majoritarianism. Majoritarianism means that the majority of the country, this is what they want. Now, you cannot turn it around and tell us to become democratic. At the same time, tell us not to be democratic. You have to choose. You can't have your cake and eat it. And lastly, and this is very, very important, I think I would like to stoop and conquer and ask the Western world that for goodness sake, let us not go very deep in this. It is nothing which spoils our country. It's something that actually builds our country. And if they have got anything else they would like us to discuss, we can. But we as a country, we are following the democratic principles they've brought. We are following a reasonable relationship, and we think we still have a very good relationship with them. And people who have made those comments, please, I beg them to desist and take it easy. Because I hear a lot of comments being made on the Americans, but we don't follow them through, and we don't sanction them. Now, for the rich, if they don't want to deal with us by helping us, they should also desist from taking the riches of Africa. They should, the resources of Africa. And they should, and the Africans should now know that this, if they continue with this, the Africans will know who their enemy is. And we don't want to have that. We want to have a good relationship, and we want to continue to be with them, especially the American and European Union. I think the best way to conclude, we don't want the war of Russia and Ukraine because of NATO. Don't bring NATO like you did in Libya. Please let us have peace. Let us work together.
Let us work together. Well, thank you so much, Captain Francis Babu, for your time. Senior citizen, but also a person who is so very observing what is happening globally and internationally. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
I'll leave you with Ruben to take you through the world of sports, and I'll return in the next hour with Good Morning Uganda Extra. Keep it with us.
The Magical Egypt Tour 2023 is here. A heavenly miracle waiting across the natural and divine attractions of Egypt, such as Cairo, Giza Pyramids, Saqqara, Memphis, and many more that will offer the gift of a lifetime. The chance to unlock all of the hidden powers of mind and soul, gain the enlightenment of the past and the future, and develop the power of healing. Departure will be Friday 16th up to 23rd June 2023. Basic package starting at $1,200, 8 days and 7 nights. To register, come to Gotove Tours and Travel at Nalkwego Complex Suta, UG's Extender, George Street, Nakasero, or call +256 758 530 059 or +256 784 568 392 or WhatsApp +256 782 556 078. Only few slots are left. Powered by UBC Television.
My name is Ruben Ipe Machibidang. I'm glad and blessed to be here this morning. Of course, it's a beautiful Monday morning, and I want to thank the team that has been here, Felix, Mollen, and Robert. But of course, Honorable Babu is